Hey guys, it's Kerry, back on my channel, and today I am going to be talking about the books I read in quarantine or over the pandemic. I think I've read like 6 something odd books. I'm pretty proud of myself, to be honest. I mean, I didn't read for like the first 2 months because of my slight mental breakdown, and also the fact, just the shock of it all. And I was like, and then when I realised I wasn't going to wake up out of this satirical dystopian situation we were now in, I was like, might as well read some of the books on my shelves that I bought and that I haven't really ever had time to read, but I really wanted to. If you ever do that, go into a bookshop, buy loads of books because they look super interesting and I just never have time. So I thought, let's get on to it. So, yeah. So, the first book I read was The Shadow in the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I really love this book. It's honestly become one of my favourite books. It's just really beautifully written, and there's like a magical sense to the book that I'm not quite sure how to fully articulate it. It's based or set during the Spanish Civil War, so it was a recommended read by some of my history teachers for A-level, and I would highly recommend anyone read this book who's interested. So the next 3 books I'm going to talk about in the same time. So I read Her Finest Hour, which is the not quite memoir but the story of Diana Rowden. The Flames in the Field, which follows 4 SOE agents. Who are they? I feel so uneducated. Their names are what are their names? There's Andre Burrell, Diana Rowden. Oh, I'm so sorry, I can't remember the other 2. And it's just about their work that they did in contribution to D-Day. And I also read Codename Lise, which follows the life of Odette Sampson. And the reason I read these is because I did a history project on the 3 SOE agents and how their work contributed to D-Day and to the ending of the war. And it's kind of just celebrating the work of women in the war, which I don't always think is fully cherished as much as other people's involvement. Same with other minorities who fought in the war. So I thought it would. I mean, World War II in general is a fascinating time period. So I just decided to research a bit more into it, I guess. The next book I read was A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. This really scared me. I really enjoyed this book. I think it has, as all dystopias do, a very scary message about our society. It follows a boy called, I read this a while ago now, what's his name? A young Devochka called, I can't remember, called Alex, and basically his journey as a young adult in the society he lives in. I would highly recommend this book. It's good. The next books I read, I guess, are the Hunger Games trilogy. Yes, I know, I've been living under a rock. I actually hadn't got around to reading these until I was like 16, and oh boy was I missing out. These books are something else. They've quickly become definitely one in my top 3 favourite books. What's her name? Suzanne Collins, well done. It follows, I honestly think the message these has is so strong and so powerful, but it's also done in a way that is so that really wraps you into the story. And I honestly read these all these 3 books in a couple of days because you really feel you're in the books. Stephanie Collins did a really good job with these, and they have a superb message about our society, which I guess over this time I've read a lot of dystopian literature just because of the situation we're in at the moment, especially with the States, and I think it's quite scary the messages these have and how prevalent they have become in our society. So yeah. The next I read was A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This was also a recommended read by school because we studied this text for A-level. Once again, sorry, I feel like I'm repeating myself. I'd highly recommend this book. It follows the life of what's her name? Oh yeah, Offred in this dystopian society where women have absolutely no rights almost, and they are in separate castes, and their caste determines their role. A very interesting concept, I'd say. One that's relatively common throughout dystopian literature and very well portrayed very well. What's the word? Very well followed through. very well done in this novel. The next one I read was Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, and this follows Guy Montag, who is in a society where they have firemen who burn books, and he is one of those firemen, and it basically just follows him in his day-to-day life, questioning, and they are constantly censored and being watched and are having like media forced down their faces, and it basically follows him from the start in the society to the end, where he's deeply questioning it, and it's very, very relevant still again. The next one I read was not a dystopia. It is The Poet X by Elizabeth Akivado. I really enjoyed this book. It's in free verse, so it doesn't take very long to read. You could read it in a few hours, and it follows the life of Ziamara, and and it's just her questioning that she lives in, believe it was Harlem in New York, and she is Dominican, and she's kind of questioning this very strict upbringing she's had and the person who she is, and it's a very it's something that I think a lot of teenagers will relate to, and I really enjoyed this novel. Would recommend. The next one I wrote not really Carrie. The next one I read is One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus, and this follows 4 people who are in detention and one person, so it's 5 I guess, one of them died and they're all blamed, and it's just going through each of their separate stories, wondering who did it, and yeah, I enjoyed it. The end was relatively predictable, however, overall it was a pretty good book. I would recommend it. Another novel that I greatly enjoyed was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. When I read this, I thought it had been written 10-20 years ago. I thought it was about fast fashion and, people such as, what's his name, who owns Intertech. I can't recall his name off the top of my head, but people like that, who exploit workers about such things such as the factory in Gaza and about the working conditions of those workers. However, I found out it was written about 1895, around the time of the Industrial Revolution, and it's very scary how, even though it was written a long time ago, it's still relevant to our society today. And I just found that fascinating to find how our society has evolved, has not really got better. It's just evolved, and it kind of it follows this the Time Lord almost. No, not a Time Lord, but this doctor who can time travel. It sounds familiar. No, it's not like that. And he goes to the future, and he talks about evolution of humankind, that this could cause the division of our society. The very polarised division of our society, where we have people who are practically slaves working, and people who are really wealthy. Questioning bourgeoisie. This is definitely something I really enjoyed, and a topic I'm super interested in, and I'm going to try and find more books around this topic. The next one I read was The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson, and this follows, what's her name? I can't remember her name. I remember what happened. So basically there's this girl, and her dad is a congressman, and he has a bit of a scandal, and it means basically all her plans for the summer are cancelled, and she has to find a lot of new things to do, and she ends up having a great summer and really developing as a person. This is a book I chose to read because I'm a year 11 who had their GCSEs cancelled and their holiday cancelled with some of their friends, and it was a really nice read for me at this point in my life, as it's plans change, but we still make the best of things. And yeah, I really enjoyed reading this at this point in my life. The next I read was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and it basically it's another dystopian. You probably already know that, and it follows this highly segregated, organised society, and it's kind of questioning class system, and yeah, everything to do with that, and you know what could happen if we keep going with such a segregated society. Definitely something that's also very relevant at the moment with, you know, all these Black Lives Matter protests going on in the States. In this time period, I greatly enjoyed reading a book that is questioning how, you know, the futility of it. So I'd highly recommend this book. The next series book I read was Love, Simon by Becky Abertoli. Some of you might recognise the name as Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, but same book. And this follows Simon, who is blackmailed to come to do something, and if not, someone will like tell that, you know, he'll be forced to come out, and you know, it kind of follows the difficulties of being LGBTQ and the growing pains that comes with, and gay or not, I think this is an important read, as I think it will make you understand the lives of those members of that community and what they have to go through. So I do think this is a really relevant read and a really enjoyable one. The next book I read was My Sister, a Serial Killer. Slightly predictable end. I mean, it was a circular structure, so I guess that was, you know, I mean, it's a well-written book, but I kind of predicted what would happen at the end. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. Didn't take me very long to read, and yeah, it basically follows the life of Corriday, who is the title. Sister is a serial killer, and she talks about her emotions and feelings towards it, and it's quite an interesting. Obviously, take away the killer part. It's a very interesting sister dynamic, and it's something I feel like a lot of siblings will relate to, in a sense, the feeling of having a sibling and the emotions and tribulations that can come with. So even though I don't have a sister, I can see how it could still be relatable in a way. You know, it doesn't seem like it could be. The next book I read was My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell, and I've actually watched the entire Durrell series on Netflix, and I love it. I think it's hilarious. I really relate to Larry if you watched it. And yeah, so when I found out it was based on a book, my boy did it. When I found it in a charity shop, was it mine? And yeah, I picked this up and I greatly enjoyed it. It was quite different to the Netflix series. I definitely feel like they must have done some research or staged or made up at some of it, but on the whole it was a really funny, enjoyable book and not a very long read, so I would recommend this book. And the series, it's hilarious and very liberating. So love to go to Corfu, live on an island. My books. The next book I read was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Sorry, my dyslexia. I did enjoy this book. I think it has a really good message to it, which I think is one that is often forgotten in this highly competitive society of money doesn't bring you happiness, and it shouldn't be your life goal. It's a flat life goal. I do think this book can be look how I'm going to get so much hate for this. Okay, it's my own opinion. A little bit boring. I think it has a superb message, and I do think it has a place as a classic. However, it's not a riveting read. It's one I kind of had to motivate myself to read a bit, but it's a message that I think is so important. It is a relevant read. So yeah. The next book I read was The White Queen by Philippa Gregory, and this takes place during the 1400s and the early 1500s, I believe, so during the War of the Roses, and it basically talks you through Elizabeth's perspective, who was married to King Edward. And, it talks about all the inner family turmoil, and, you know, it shows how it would feel like to be in the centre of a brother's war, or a cousin's war, as it's been coined, I believe. And if you are interested in that time period, I think you will love this book. It's very well written. It's very well researched. It was recommended for my A-level course because we studied the Tudors. And yeah, I'm glad I read this book. It's worth a read if you're interested in that time period. And the books I'm currently reading are the Selection series by Kira Cass. Yes, another dystopia, sorry. It's just relevant at the moment, you know. I've nearly finished these. I'm nearly at the end of the one. And what I can say from these is that I have greatly enjoyed them. I think they have it follows the life of America singer, who is a member in something called the Selection. So it takes place in this dystopian society where everyone is in castes. So it questions, obviously, the futility of our segregated society again, a message I find very interesting, especially in this times where we have the Black Lives Matter movement and we were coming up to the American election. Also, it also questions, how women are viewed as objects, and there's also a feminist aspect to this book, these trilogy, and how women their value is based on their appearance, I guess. So I do think this is a very good. These are very well executed books. I do wish the emphasis wasn't quite so much on the love triangle. I'm kind of done with that in YA books. However, on the whole, I've really enjoyed them, and I think they have a superb message to them, especially in these highly polarised times. So yeah, I would highly recommend the Cycle series. I've greatly enjoyed them. Haven't quite finished them yet though. Keep you posted on the ending. And I promise we are nearly getting there. So the next couple I'm going to go into are audiobooks. So I've got them written here. So the one that I listened to as an audiobook was A Monster Calls by Patrick Neff. I greatly enjoyed it. I think it's such a beautiful way of describing depression and trauma and loss. So I would recommend that book to anyone. I really felt for the main character. His name was... I really have a struggle remembering characters' names. I remember their significance. I can't remember his name. But the young boy who is the protagonist in the novel, he is such a lovable, likeable character. Connor! Yeah, I really felt for him. And I know a lot of people, that book made them cry, and I really understand why. It is a really beautiful depiction of mental illness and loss. So I would highly recommend that book. The next audiobook I listened to was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And oh my god, can that woman write? 5 stars. Most of the time with books, I can kind of see what's going to happen. You see the foreshadowing, you see the sexual structure, you think, it's entertaining, but it's just I know it's going to happen. But there's something about Agatha Christie that I think I listened to it for straight 7 hours. I don't think I put it down. She just really wraps you into the book, and she's really intelligent at making plot twists that you can't see. So and because of that, I went on to read 5 Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. Same thing, really enjoyed it. It's not quite as good as Then There Were None, but it's still really intelligent. No wonder. I think she's the most best-selling female author ever, or the third most-selling author ever, apparently behind Shakespeare and the Bible. So you go, girl. You deserve it. You can write. And then finally, the last audiobook I listened to was How to Train Your Dragon. I think it was. What's it called? I think it was Red. It's probably more academic word to use, but yeah, I think it was narrated by David Tennant in his Scottish accent, and yeah, it was just really fun. I recommend it for a light, relaxing read. It was great fun. And finally, I'm sorry, I know you guys probably all clicked off. I've started reading some manga. I'm about to alienate so many people, but I have not really been into manga ever, really. I know it's something I've really thought to pick up. However, I found these in a charity shop, the Heavy Metal Alchemist books, the first 2, and I thought, hey, I'll give them a go. Apparently they're really good. My friend recommended them. And I'm not quite done, but I've really enjoyed them. Just the first one. I think it's been great. Sorry, I don't understand I'm waffling, so I'm just going to finish it here. I hope, comment down below what books you guys have found to be really enjoyable and relevant over these times in the pandemic. And I'd like to wish you luck for your next stage if you're going back to school or university or college. Yeah. Bye.